Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here today. I want to talk about something that hits deep, something that's at the core of every challenge we face, something that will shape the direction of our lives. It's this: you can only win when your mind is stronger than your emotion. Now, I know what you're thinking. What does that really mean? What does it take to make our minds stronger than our emotions? I'm about to show you exactly how critical this idea is, how it affects everything from the way we approach challenges to the way we handle our relationships and setbacks. Emotions are real. They're human. They're the feelings that pulse through your veins, the ones that shape every decision you make. But here's the thing: emotions are wild. They don't care about logic or reason. They don't care about timing. One minute you're soaring, everything feels right. You're filled with hope, your heart racing in excitement, feeling like nothing can stop you. And then, just like that, the next moment fear sweeps in, doubt creeps up on you, frustration takes over your mind, and suddenly everything you were so sure of seems uncertain. That's the thing about emotions: they're unpredictable. And when they're unchecked, they can turn everything upside down. Now think about the last time you were in a tough spot, a test you had to take, an interview where you felt the pressure mounting, or a personal conflict that seemed to go on forever. When it came time to make a decision, how did you react? Did you allow logic to guide you, or did you let your emotions take over? I bet if you're being honest with yourself, in that moment, the emotions took the wheel. Maybe you acted impulsively. Maybe you spoke too quickly, or even worse, maybe you didn't speak at all. How many times have you let your emotions decide for you, only to look back and realize that in the heat of the moment you lost control? When your emotions take charge, you lose. You lose clarity, you lose focus, you lose the ability to see things as they really are. And that's why, when the emotional floodgates open, you can't rely on them to lead you. When you let emotion run the show, it's like driving a car with no brakes. There's no stopping it. You'll crash sooner or later. But here's the flip side. When you strengthen your mind, when you train yourself to rise above those knee-jerk reactions, you begin to regain control. It's not about ignoring your feelings, pretending they don't exist. No, it's about learning to respect them, to understand that they are temporary, and not letting them define your reality. That's when you step into your power. That's when you stop being a passenger in your own life and take the wheel. You don't just react, you respond. And there's a difference between the two. The mind, when sharp, is a tool of incredible power. It doesn't panic. It doesn't rush to conclusions. The mind allows you to process the information, to step back, and to assess the situation clearly. It gives you the strength to pause and take a moment before you speak. When your mind is trained to stay calm, to rise above the noise, that's when you stop making decisions out of fear. That's when you gain control, not just over the situation, but over your life. This is something you can practice every single day. You've got to understand that every time you let emotions rule your decision-making, you're handing over your power. Every time you let fear make a choice for you, you're choosing to remain small. Every time you let anger take control, you're giving away your ability to think clearly. But the beauty of the mind is that, like a muscle, it can be developed. You don't have to be a victim of your emotions. You can train yourself to respond, to pause, to let logic lead the way. You can make a choice to not let your feelings dictate the direction of your life. It's not always easy. Let me tell you, there are days when the emotions will hit hard. Days when the frustration feels endless, when the fear feels all-consuming. Those days are real, and they will come. But what separates those who thrive from those who crumble is the ability to rise above. It's the decision to not let emotion be the driver. It's the commitment to choose your response. And I want you to know that it's not about perfection. This isn't about always being calm, always making the right choice. It's about having the awareness that when emotions surge, you don't have to let them control you. It's about understanding that emotions will come and go, but the strength of your mind can remain constant. That's the power you need to harness. Take a moment to think about the people you admire. Think about the leaders, the champions, the ones who seem to have everything together. I'm not talking about those who never get knocked down or those who don't feel fear. I'm talking about the ones who've learned to master their minds. They've figured out that success isn't about avoiding emotion. It's about controlling it. When faced with adversity, they stay grounded. They move with purpose. They make decisions based on their values, their goals, not on the fluctuating tides of emotion. It's the reason why so many of the greats, from athletes to entrepreneurs, emphasize the importance of mental strength. It's why they train their minds every single day. Whether they're preparing for a championship game or facing down a difficult decision in business, they know that what's going to carry them through isn't their ability to perform in a moment of peak emotion, but their ability to stay focused when the pressure is at its highest. It's that ability to rise above the noise, to stay in the driver's seat, that leads to victory. You see, when you choose to build a strong mind, you choose to take control of your destiny. Your mind, when it's strong, is like an anchor that keeps you steady in the storm. When everything around you is chaotic, when life throws you curveballs and the emotions feel like they're about to swallow you whole, it's your mind that will keep you. It will allow you to make decisions that align with who you truly are, not the fleeting feelings that come and go. So ask yourself, who's in charge of your life? Who's steering the ship? Is it the emotions that surge in a moment of weakness? Or is it the strength of your mind, the clarity, and the wisdom that comes from learning how to take control when everything else is pulling you in different directions? That is the power you have to tap into. Because at the end of the day, your emotions will come and go, but your mind, when trained, is a force that will carry you further than you ever thought possible. And when you learn to make that mind stronger than any emotion, you unlock a power that nothing and no one can take from you. There's a world of difference between reacting and responding. The world wants you to react quickly, emotionally. That's what it demands, an immediate answer, an instant judgment, a hasty move based on whatever is flying through your heart and mind. And you know what? In that moment, it feels right. When your heart races and your gut tells you to act, you feel alive, like you're in control. But here's the cold truth. When you react, you're not in control. You're being controlled. You're being led by whatever emotion happens to be running through you at that moment. Whether it's fear, anger, frustration, or even excitement. Think about it. How many times have you reacted instead of responding? Maybe you lashed out in anger at someone who didn't deserve it. Or you said something in frustration that you instantly regretted. Maybe you made a decision you knew wasn't right, but the emotion in that moment felt so intense that you convinced yourself it was the only choice. That's what happens when you allow emotions to take over. You react without thinking, you act without clarity. You let the rush of adrenaline or fear steer you, and you end up in a place you didn't mean to be. But responding, that's something different. Responding means you're in control. It's deliberate, it's measured, it's calm, it's calculated. When your mind is strong, you don't act on impulse. You pause, you take a breath, you evaluate. You remind yourself that no matter what emotion you're feeling, you are the one who decides how to handle the situation. You're not a puppet on a string. You're the one holding the strings. And that is power. When your mind is in control, you become a force to be reckoned with. Think about it this way. In a moment of challenge, in a moment of pressure, your emotions want to take the lead, pushing you to act quickly. But the mind says, hold on, let's think this through. The mind says, don't rush. What's the right choice here? What's the bigger picture? What's the goal? Your mind gives you the space to think. It gives you the space to not let your feelings dictate your next move. And that space, that pause, is where your true power lies. Imagine being in the middle of a boxing ring. The crowd is screaming, your muscles are aching, sweat is pouring down your face, and your opponent is throwing punches at you from all angles. In that moment, your body is full of emotions. You're tired, you're frustrated, you're angry, you might even be scared. It's easy to let that fear and anger control your next move, right? To lash out impulsively, to fight without thinking. But here's the thing, a champion doesn't react. A champion responds. In that ring, a true fighter doesn't let the pressure get to him. He doesn't let the emotions run wild. He knows that the moment he lets his emotions drive him, he'll lose focus, he'll lose control, he'll make a mistake. So, instead of reacting, he takes a deep breath, he pauses, he calculates. He watches his opponent's movements, feels the rhythm of the fight, and makes his move with precision, with strategy, with purpose. The champion knows that emotions, anger, frustration, fear, they're fleeting, they come and go. But a focused, strategic mind, that will carry you through the toughest battles. Now, let's take a step back and think about your own life. Every day, you're faced with moments that require a decision. Big decisions, small decisions. In some of those moments, your emotions will come rushing in. Your heart will pound. You'll feel the pressure to act, to say something, to do something. And in those moments, you have a choice. You can react, let the wave of emotion decide for you, or you can respond. You can take that moment to breathe, to think, to remember that the emotions you're feeling right now aren't permanent. They don't define you. You define you. We've all been in situations where we've let our emotions take control. We've snapped at someone we love, or made a rash decision that didn't serve us. We've let fear stop us from taking risks, or allowed anger to cloud our judgment. But think about how different your life would be if in those moments you took a breath, you paused, you allowed your mind to guide you instead of your emotions. The outcome would be completely different, wouldn't it? When you learn to respond instead of react, you step into your full potential. You stop letting the world around you control you. Instead, you become the one who controls your reactions. You get to decide how you face challenges. You get to decide how you respond to adversity. Whether it's a tough conversation, a business deal, or a personal struggle, you have the ability to take a step back, to clear your mind, and to make the right decision. You gain the power to rise above the noise and to move forward with purpose. One of the most powerful examples of this is in leadership. Think about the leaders you admire, whether they're business leaders, political leaders, or leaders in your personal life. They all share one thing in common. They don't react. They respond. When everything around them is chaotic, they take a step back. They evaluate the situation with a clear mind, and then they act. They don't let their emotions, whether it's fear, anger, or even excitement, guide them. They are the calm in the storm. And that's what makes them powerful. The truth is, life doesn't always go the way you expect. Things will happen that you can't control. People will disappoint you. Challenges will arise. But in those moments, the way you respond, how you manage your emotions, how you control your thoughts, will determine your success. And when you respond with clarity, with purpose, with intention, you create a life where you're always in control. You're always ready for what's next, because your mind is your foundation. You don't just react, you respond. And in that response lies your true strength. Emotions can be liars. You don't want to hear that, do you? You don't want to believe that something so real, something that feels so natural, could ever be deceptive. But here's the truth. Emotions are not truth. They don't know your potential. They don't know what you're capable of. They don't know the power inside you that's just waiting to be unlocked. Emotions only know what you've experienced. They know your pain, your fear, your past mistakes. They know the times you've been knocked down. They don't know what you're about to become. And because of that, emotions lie to you. They tell you that you can't. They tell you that you're not good enough. They tell you that failure is around the corner, just waiting for you to fall. But that's a lie. Think about it. Every time you've had the urge to quit, when you've doubted yourself, when you've thought, this is too hard, I can't do it, where's that coming from? It's coming from your emotions. It's coming from your fear of failure. It's coming from the times in your life when things didn't go the way you wanted. Your emotions are connected to the past. They're anchored in the experiences you've already had. They want to keep you safe, comfortable, and they want to keep you stuck in what you know. But they don't know what's ahead. They don't know what you're capable of. Let me take you back to a story we all know. Michael Jordan. The man, the legend. We see him now at the peak of success, the greatest basketball player to ever play the game. But what do we forget? We forget that Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. He wasn't always this untouchable figure, this global icon. He was once rejected, told he wasn't good enough, not skilled enough. Imagine what his emotions must have been telling him at that time. This is it. You're not meant for this. You failed. You might as well give up. But here's what Jordan understood, and what many of us miss. He didn't listen to those emotions. He didn't listen to that voice that told him to quit. He didn't allow his past mistakes or his feelings of inadequacy to define his future. Instead, he focused on something far stronger than his emotions, his mind. He made a decision to keep going. He didn't let rejection dictate his worth. He didn't let those emotions of doubt decide his path. Instead, he allowed them to fuel his determination to become better, stronger, more focused. And we all know the result. Michael Jordan didn't just become good at basketball. He became the best. But it wasn't just talent. It wasn't just physical ability. It was his mind. He trained his mind to push through failure. He trained himself to rise above those emotional whispers that told him he wasn't enough. And in the end, he showed the world that emotions are temporary, but a strong mind is unstoppable. This is a story about life. Because every single one of us faces moments where our emotions tell us to quit, to give in. We face setbacks, we get knocked down, we hit walls. But if we listen to our emotions in those moments, we'll stay stuck. If we let the lie of fear and doubt dictate our actions, we'll never reach the heights we're capable of. Emotions tell us that obstacles are too big, too overwhelming. They make the mountain seem impossible to climb. They make the finish line seem out of reach. But the truth is, those obstacles aren't as big as your mind. Think about the last time you thought you couldn't do something. Maybe it was starting a new job, taking on a new challenge, or going after something you really wanted. What was the first thing that came into your mind? Was it a flood of doubt, a feeling of fear, an emotional response that said, you're not enough for this, you'll fail? That was emotion talking. That wasn't the truth. That was a lie. Because like Michael Jordan, you have a choice. You can let those emotions guide you, or you can make the decision to push through. You can decide to train your mind to look past the fear, to look past the doubt, and to keep going even when it feels impossible. Emotions make everything seem bigger than it is. They blow things out of proportion. They twist your reality. When you're afraid, your mind focuses only on the worst case scenario. When you're angry, everything seems like an attack. When you're sad, the world feels like it's closing in on you, but none of that is truth. It's just your emotions clouding your judgment. And here's the hard part. We tend to believe those lies. We start to think that the emotions we're feeling in the moment are a reflection of who we are, a reflection of our abilities, of our future. But they're not. They're just passing feelings. And they don't have the power to define you unless you allow them to. When you train your mind to rise above those emotions, when you choose to keep going, even when your heart is telling you to stop, you unlock a power in yourself that most people never find. You step into a place of strength that doesn't come from your circumstances or your past. It comes from your ability to keep moving forward, no matter what emotions you're facing. Think about the next time life tries to throw you a curveball. The next time you feel like you're not good enough. The next time the voice of doubt creeps in. In that moment, remember that your emotions don't know your potential. They don't know what you're capable of. You have the power to decide what your future will look like, and it starts by ignoring the lies emotions try to tell you. You are stronger than your feelings. You are bigger than your doubts. And if you train your mind to push through those emotional barriers, you will realize that no matter what stands in your way, you have the power to rise above it. Just like Michael Jordan, you can use those setbacks, those emotions, as fuel for something greater. Because when your mind is stronger than your emotions, there is nothing that can stop you. You've been there, we all have, those moments when emotions take over, When everything feels like it's spinning out of control, maybe it's anger, frustration, or even sorrow. Maybe it's fear that grabs hold of your heart, or overwhelming pressure that weighs you down. It's intense, isn't it? In that moment, it feels like the world is crashing in on you. It feels like nothing will ever be the same. You're caught up in the storm, and it's hard to see beyond it. But let me ask you this. How many times have you found that when the storm passed, you could look back and see just how fleeting those emotions really were? In the moment, it feels like everything, every challenge, every problem, every emotion will last forever. But it won't. Emotions are temporary. They come and go like waves crashing against the shore. Sometimes the waves are big and sometimes they're small. But no matter how powerful they seem, they will always recede. And when you realize that, when you truly understand that emotions are fleeting, you stop letting them dictate your life. You stop letting them control your decisions, because you understand that what truly matters, the thing that will carry you through, is your mind. Think about the last time you were angry or upset. Really think about it. Maybe you had a disagreement with someone you care about. Maybe you lost an opportunity, or maybe something just didn't go your way. In that moment, it felt like the end of the world, didn't it? It felt like everything was falling apart. But now, how much of it still matters? How much of that pain, that anger, that frustration is still with you? Chances are it's faded. You might still remember the incident, but the emotions are no longer as intense. They've passed. That's the thing about emotions. They are temporary. They are powerful in the moment, but they don't last forever. And when you learn to control your mind, you give yourself the ability to see beyond those emotions. Resilience is the key to this. Resilience isn't about avoiding the storms of life. It's not about pretending you won't face challenges or difficulties. It's not about pretending you won't feel pain or frustration or fear. Resilience is about knowing that no matter how strong the winds of emotion blow, your mind will keep you steady. It's about developing the mental strength to stand firm even when everything around you seems to be falling apart. It's about learning how to weather the storm, not by running from it or avoiding it, but by facing it with strength and clarity. Think about the great people you admire, the ones who've faced adversity and come out on top. They didn't get there by avoiding the hard times. They didn't get there by pretending they weren't afraid or angry or hurt. They got there because they understood that emotions, no matter how strong, are temporary. They understood that their mind, when trained and focused, could carry them through anything. They faced the challenges head on, knowing that their mind would be the anchor that would hold them steady. Look at the world around you. There are challenges everywhere. There's pressure, there's hardship, there's loss. But you don't have to let those things define you. You don't have to let the weight of emotions control you. Life will throw curveballs, and sometimes it will feel like you've been knocked down. But the key to rising up is your mind. When you learn to strengthen it, when you build mental toughness, you give yourself the ability to face those storms and come out stronger. You don't get broken by the wind. You bend with it. You endure. That's resilience. It's not about being invincible. It's not about pretending you don't feel pain. It's about learning to stay grounded in the face of everything that tries to knock you down. It's about understanding that no matter how high the emotional tide rises, you have the power to keep your feet planted firmly in the ground. Imagine for a moment you're in the middle of a storm. It's fierce. The wind is howling, the rain is pouring, and you can barely see a foot in front of you. Your emotions are like that storm, wild, unpredictable, overwhelming. But in that moment, you have a choice. You can let the storm take over. You can let your fear, your anger, your sadness take the wheel and steer you wherever they want. Or you can decide that despite the storm, you are going to stay anchored. You are going to focus on what's within your control. You're going to use your mind to find your way through. When you strengthen your mind, you develop the tools to handle whatever life throws your way. You build the mental clarity to see through the chaos, the wisdom to understand that this moment, this emotional storm will pass. And when it does, you'll be standing tall, stronger than before, with the tools and the strength to face whatever comes next. Here's the thing, we all face storms in life. We all face moments when emotions take over. And it's okay to feel those emotions. It's okay to experience anger, frustration, or sadness. They are part of being human. But when you strengthen your mind, you learn how to deal with them in a way that moves you forward instead of holding you back. You don't let the emotions control you. You control how you respond to them. You build the mental resilience to keep moving forward, to keep pushing through the storm, knowing that the sun will come out again. And when it does, you'll be stronger for having weathered it. So the next time you face a challenge, the next time emotions rise up and try to take over, remember this: the storm will pass. It always does. And when it does, you will be standing firm. You will be steady. You will be unshaken because you trained your mind to endure. And that mind, strong and resilient, will carry you forward no matter what lies ahead. Building a strong mind is not something that happens by accident. And it certainly isn't something that happens. It's not a magical switch you can flip when things get tough, when the pressure's on, or when the emotions start running wild. No, strengthening your mind is about consistency. It's about building something solid, piece by piece, day by day. It's about the small, seemingly insignificant habits that add up over time, like drops of water slowly carving out a canyon. That's how mental toughness is developed. And when life throws you its hardest challenges, that mental strength will be the one thing you can rely on to carry you through. Let's break it down. Start small. You don't need to make sweeping, grand gestures to begin the process of strengthening your mind. It's not about trying to change everything at once or making everything perfect. It's about small, deliberate actions that build up over time. One of the first things you can start with is practicing mindfulness. I know, it sounds simple, just breathe, but there's power in that simplicity. Every single day, take a moment to clear your mind, to breathe deeply, to focus on the present moment. When you take that breath, you give yourself the space to step out of the chaos, out of the emotions, out of the noise. You get the chance to center yourself. You remind yourself that no matter what's going on around you, you're in control of this moment. You can choose to be present, and you can choose to stay grounded. Mindfulness is not about avoiding the chaos or pretending it doesn't exist. It's about learning to exist in the chaos without losing yourself in it. Think about the times when you've felt overwhelmed, stressed, or caught in a rush of emotion. When things start spinning, it's easy to react. It's easy to get caught up in everything swirling around you. But when you take a moment to pause, to breathe, to reset your mind, you give yourself the space to respond with clarity instead of reacting with impulse. And that's the difference between moving forward and staying stuck. Another powerful tool is setting goals. We all know how important it is to have direction, but how many of us have actually taken the time to sit down and plan out where we want to go? The key here is clarity. When your mind is clear, when it's not cluttered with emotional noise, you can set realistic, measurable goals. You can create a plan, break it down into steps, and then execute those steps, one by one. Without that clarity, without that focus, it's easy to get overwhelmed. You might look at the mountain ahead and think, there's no way I can climb this. But when you break it down, when you have a clear, actionable plan, that mountain doesn't look so intimidating anymore. You see it for what it is, a series of small, manageable steps. Setting goals isn't just about the end result. It's about the process. It's about building the discipline and the mental toughness to keep moving forward, even when the road gets tough. That's how you build a mind that doesn't break under pressure, that doesn't crumble when things get difficult. You build it by setting those goals, focusing on each step, and trusting that each small victory, no matter how small it seems, is bringing you closer to where you want to be. But here's the thing, you can set all the goals you want, you can practice mindfulness all day long, but if you're surrounded by negativity, if the people around you are constantly bringing you down, if your environment is full of distractions and chaos, it's going to be hard to keep that mental clarity. The people you surround yourself with, the media you consume, the environment you immerse yourself in, they all shape your mental state. So choose wisely. Surround yourself with people who lift you up, who challenge you to be better, who encourage you when you feel like giving up. Stay away from those who drag you down, who feed into your doubts and fears, and who bring unnecessary negativity into your life. It's easy to get caught up in the negative energy of the world. We all do it. We see the bad news, we hear the gossip, we feel the pressure from people who don't understand our vision. But remember this, you are the average of the people you spend the most time with. If you surround yourself with positivity, with people who encourage you, who push you to be your best self, you'll start to see that positivity infiltrate your own mind. It'll become the lens through which you see the world. Now let's talk about something that's crucial to mental toughness. Learning to pause before reacting. This is one of the most powerful habits you can develop. In emotional situations, when your heart is racing, your blood is boiling, or fear is creeping in, it's easy to act on impulse. You feel the need to speak, to defend yourself, to react. But let me tell you something. Reaction is emotional. When you react, you let your feelings dictate your actions. And let's be honest, those knee-jerk reactions rarely lead to good decisions. That's why learning to pause is so important. When something hits you, when emotions rise up, take a moment, take a deep breath, count to 3. Give yourself the space to let your mind catch up to your emotions. It's in that pause that you find your power. In that pause, you remember that you are in control. You can decide how you're going to respond. Instead of reacting out of anger, fear, or frustration, you respond with clarity, with intention, with a mindset that's grounded in strength. And trust me, that's where the magic happens. These small daily habits, mindfulness, goal setting, surrounding yourself with positivity, and learning to pause before reacting, they build mental toughness. They don't happen overnight. You won't wake up tomorrow and be the person you want to be. But if you stay consistent, if you keep showing up, if you commit to these practices day after day, you will get stronger. And when the storms of life come, when the emotions rise up, you'll have the mental toughness to face them head on. Because you've built a mind that's steady, that's resilient, that's unshaken. And that is what will carry you forward. Imagine being locked away for 27 years. 27 years of confinement, 27 years of isolation, 27 years of isolation, 27 years of hardship, suffering, and unimaginable pain. Now, most of us, let's be honest, if we were in that situation, we'd be consumed by anger. We'd be full of resentment, hatred, and a desire for revenge. If we had been wronged for so long, if we had been stripped of our freedom, our dignity, and our very humanity, our emotions would be overwhelming. We'd want to lash out. We'd want to hurt the people who hurt us. But there's a man, a remarkable man who took a different path. His name is Nelson Mandela. In 1991, after 27 years of being held behind bars, Mandela was released. The world watched as this man, this symbol of perseverance and resilience, stepped out into the sunlight. Now, what do you think most people would have done? After all those years of suffering, of being beaten down, of being denied his basic rights, how do you think he would have reacted? Mandela could have let his emotions take control. He could have taken the easy route, the route of anger and revenge. He could have done what so many people would have done and gone after those who wronged him. But no, he didn't. Instead, Mandela chose something far more powerful. He chose his mind. He chose to forgive. He chose to rise above the hate, the bitterness, and the anger that had kept him in chains for so long. Now think about that for a second. Think about the power it would take, the mental strength to forgive after 27 years of imprisonment. This wasn't just a small wrong. This wasn't a fleeting moment of anger. This was a lifetime of pain, injustice, and suffering. And yet, when Mandela stepped out into that sunlight, he didn't let his emotions rule him. He made a conscious choice. He decided that he wasn't going to be a prisoner of his emotions anymore. He was going to use his mind to build a future, to heal his country, to bring his people together, and to guide them toward reconciliation. Imagine how many people would have acted out of sheer emotion, anger, and resentment. Imagine how many people, after being wronged for so long, would have held on to that hatred and sought revenge. But Mandela understood something that few people understand in the heat of the moment. Your mind is your greatest weapon. Not your anger, not your bitterness, not your desire for revenge. It's your mind. The ability to make decisions, to think clearly, to rise above the noise, to make choices that will serve you in the long run. When Mandela stepped out of that prison, he wasn't just free physically, he was free in his mind. And that freedom, the freedom of the mind, was the key to everything he accomplished after that. He didn't let his emotions dictate his actions. He made the decision to rise above them. He understood that the key to true freedom is not just breaking out of physical chains, but breaking out of the emotional chains that hold you captive. Because let's face it, the past can be a heavy burden to carry. It can weigh you down, cloud your judgment, and steal your peace of mind. But if you can rise above those emotions, if you can free yourself from that anger and pain, then you can truly move forward. Mandela's ability to do this wasn't just a one-time thing. He carried this mindset with him throughout his life. When he became president, he didn't focus on division. He didn't focus on the past mistakes of the people who had imprisoned him. He focused on what was best for the future. He understood that healing didn't come through holding on to hate. It came through forgiveness, through unity, through understanding. He could have held on to that anger forever, but he chose to rise above it, to think with clarity, to use his mind to guide his actions instead of being a slave to his emotions. And let's talk about the power that had. Mandela's choice to use his mind, to rise above the hate and the anger, wasn't just a personal victory, it was a victory for an entire nation. His decision to embrace forgiveness, to guide South Africa toward reconciliation, changed the course of history. It healed wounds. It brought people together who had been torn apart for years. It opened the door for a new future, a future that was no longer defined by bitterness or revenge, but by hope and unity. Now, you don't have to be a world leader to understand the lesson here. You don't have to be Nelson Mandela to realize that when your emotions take control, you lose control. You don't have to spend 27 years in prison to know that life is full of challenges, pain, and adversity. We all face hardships. We all face moments when it feels like life is stacked against us. But what separates the ones who rise above those challenges from the ones who are consumed by them is the ability to use your mind. When things go wrong, when emotions rise up, when everything seems like it's falling apart, your mind is what keeps you anchored. It's what allows you to make decisions that are grounded in clarity, not chaos. It's what allows you to pause before reacting, to breathe, to step back and think, instead of letting your emotions lead you down a path that will only make things worse. Mandela's story is one of the most powerful examples of the strength of the human mind. It's a reminder that when life knocks you down, when emotions threaten to take control, you have a choice. You have the power to rise above it. You have the power to choose forgiveness over hatred, peace over violence, love over anger. Your mind is your greatest asset, and when you learn to use it wisely, you can achieve greatness no matter the circumstances. Let me ask you something. What would happen if you started strengthening your mind? What if every single time life threw something at you, you decided that your emotions weren't going to drive your decisions anymore? What if, instead of reacting out of frustration, fear, or anger, you paused, took a breath, and allowed your mind to lead the way? What if you started responding, not reacting? I'm talking about a shift in how you see yourself, how you navigate this life. When you let your emotions take control, they can cloud your judgment. They can trick you into thinking that what you're feeling in that moment is all that matters. But what if you understood that the strength to face any challenge doesn't come from how you feel, but from how you think? Now, don't get me wrong, emotions are real. They're a part of who we are. They make us human. But emotions, when unchecked, can be the biggest obstacle in your path. The world is going to test you. Life is going to come at you, and it won't always be easy. You'll face disappointment, frustration, heartbreak. There will be moments when your emotions scream at you to quit, to give up, to throw in the towel. They'll tell you that you're not strong enough, not good enough, or that it's too late to try again. But here's the truth. You are not your emotions. You are the strength that lies behind them. And the power to overcome anything in your life comes from your mind, not from the emotional storm inside you. Think about it. Every time you're faced with a challenge, every time something feels like it's falling apart, the power to win is in how you think, not in how you feel. Life is going to hit you with everything it's got. It's going to test your patience, your courage, your endurance. It's going to test your emotions. But the one thing that's going to determine whether you succeed or fail, whether you stand tall or fall down, is whether you allow your mind to lead or let your emotions take control. Let me take you back to a moment in history, a moment where this was proven, where the mind's strength took a man through one of the most challenging times in his life. Think about a man named Nelson Mandela. Here's a man who spent 27 years behind bars. He was wronged, his freedom stolen, his rights stripped away. Yet when he finally walked out of that prison, he didn't let his anger take control. He didn't let bitterness fuel his decisions. Instead, he used his mind. He understood that the battle wasn't in revenge, it wasn't in anger, it wasn't in striking back. The real victory was in forgiveness, in choosing to rise above the hurt, in leading his country to reconciliation. That wasn't easy. That wasn't a natural reaction, but it was a response that came from the strength of his mind. He made the choice to think beyond the immediate emotions and to take the higher ground. And that choice changed the world. Now, you don't have to be Nelson Mandela to understand the lesson. You don't have to face prison to know that life has a way of testing your resolve. We all face tough moments. We all face struggles. We all have things that push us to the brink. But you have a choice in those moments. You can either react out of emotion, or you can respond with the strength of your mind. The mind is the most powerful tool you have. It's your most reliable asset. When the world gets heavy, when the emotions start pulling at you, when the pressure is on, the mind gives you clarity. It gives you the ability to think past the moment and see the bigger picture. It gives you the strength to keep going when everything inside of you wants to quit. Here's the truth. The battles we fight are often not just the ones we face outside of us, but the ones inside of us. The battle between the emotional pull to give up, to shrink, to surrender, and the mental strength to push through, to rise, to fight for what we believe in. And that's the power you need to tap into. You can only win when your mind is stronger than your emotion. Emotions will come, they will rise up. But when your mind is stronger, it keeps you grounded. It keeps you steady. It keeps you from being swayed by every storm that blows your way. It tells you you've got this. It tells you you are more than your circumstances. It tells you this too shall pass. So what would happen if you trained your mind like an athlete trains their body? What if you made it a habit to pause before reacting, to breathe, to reflect, to think before you speak or act? What if you built mental strength, not just through big moments of crisis, but in the small moments every single day? What if you trusted your mind to lead you, to keep you steady, to remind you that you can handle whatever comes your way? Because when you trust your mind, when you choose to respond with purpose and not react out of fear, frustration, or emotion, you'll find that you can not only survive, you will thrive. Your strength, your power, is within you. It's in your ability to use your mind, to rise above your emotions, to make choices that lead you toward greatness. It's in your ability to decide every single day that you are not a slave to what you feel in a moment of weakness, but that you are the master of your fate. That's the takeaway. The strength is inside you, and the moment you tap into that power, nothing can stop you.